very warm welcome to one and all present here. The worldwide outbreak of COVID-19 has witnessed the world coming to a standstill, and tourism industry has been the worst affected of all economic sectors. As per the United Nations World Tourism Organization, tourism has the potential to contribute to all the sustainable development goals, and traditionally tourism has showcased tremendous resilience in the face of setbacks and have paved the way for recovery of societies and economies. As the world tries to anchor itself amidst the COVID-19 crisis, it is time for the tourism industry to reimagine, re-strategize, and reinvent itself for the survival, sustenance, and future growth. Today at Amity University, Kolkata Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism, we are honored and privileged to have among us our esteemed guests, Dr. Gaitree Vanessa, Head of Department for Hospitality and Tourism at University of Africa, Nigeria, Dr. Said Al-Batouty, UNWTO Economic Advisor and Professor at Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany, Professor Nuno Almeida, Professor of Marketing at School of Tourism and Maritime Technology, Polytechnic Institute of Portugal, and Dr. Hassan Refaat, former UNDP consultant and senior lecturer at Faculty of Tourism at Hotels, Luxor University, Egypt, to share their viewpoints on the topic of panel discussion today, that is tourism and COVID-19, turning the crisis into an opportunity. Now, I would like to request Professor Vandita to please introduce the first speaker, Dr. Vanessa. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, respected everyone. We are really happy to introduce Dr. Gaitree Vanessa Gowreesunkar. Dr. Vanessa is the senior lecturer and the head of the department at the University of Africa, Toru, Orua, Nigeria. She holds a PhD that cuts across 3 disciplines, namely tourism management, communication, and marketing. With over a decade of teaching and research experience in a number of international universities and institutions, she is solicited in various global conferences, webinars, and international fora as a panelist chairperson, keynote speaker, and moderator. She is the editorial board member of several scientific journals and has a number of publications in international peer-refereed journals. We welcome you, ma'am, to speak on tourism post-COVID-19, converting the setback into comeback.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself first. Unmute yourself, ma'am.
Dr. Vanessa, can you please unmute yourself?
I hope, am I audible
Yes,
now?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am,
So good afternoon, viewers and speakers. Greeting from Nigeria. Kolkata সুন্দর মানুষকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি আমি খুব খুশি আজকে আপনাদের আমিটি ইউনিভার্সিটিতে আমন্ত্রণ পাওয়ার জন্য. So I hope that I said it well. I wanted to say greeting to the beautiful people of Kolkata, and I'm very happy to be invited by the university today. At the onset, I wish to thank the Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism for inviting me on this exclusive platform. Let me also thank our eminent panelists, Dr. Hassan from Egypt, Professor Batouty from Germany, and Professor Almeida from Portugal. It's a honor to be among these elite gentlemen. I am Vanessa, a citizen of a small island of Mauritius, but currently working in a big country like Nigeria. I am the head of Department for Tourism and Hospitality at the University of Africa, and I'm also the vice chair of the African Union Economic, Social, Cultural Council for the Tourism Cluster. So I will share a small story with you to start with. In January this year, somewhere around 10 or 11, I was traveling from Mauritius to Nigeria. And I came across few passengers wearing masks. And in my mind, it was just too ridiculous. And I was even laughing at them, thinking of Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, you name it. Today, as I look back, I realize how wrong I was. It's now 6 months, and we are still dancing to the tune of Corona. Tourism destination will surely remember the lessons of COVID-19 for a very long time. And today, I would say that it's very challenging to discuss about an outbreak when we are still in the middle of it, and when the game is unfolding on a daily basis. Take the example of India. On Thursday, 18 June, we had 12,881 COVID cases. And the next day, on Friday, it climbed up to 13,506. a massive increase of 975 corona cases within just 12 hours. Of course, the data is sourced from the World Health Organization. Likewise, in Beijing, during 50 days, there was no show of corona. And suddenly last week, there was a new surge. Beijing is closed down again. So based on empirical investigations and my own observations, I will try to put the current situation in perspective. And I will share my views on how we can convert this setback into comeback. To start with, it's important to contextualize by showing some statistics. So according to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, I'm sure Professor Batouty will agree with me, tourism as an industry accounts for 10% of the global GDP, and it is directly supporting 330 million jobs worldwide. But following the COVID-19 outbreak, what happened? Around 96% of worldwide destinations have introduced travel restriction. 90 countries completely closed their borders. 44 destinations introduced travel bans to passengers coming from other countries, and around 56 destinations just suspended international flights. So this decision had a dramatic spillover throughout the tourism supply chain, which comprised airline industries, hotels, tour operators, travel agents, entertainment sector, SMEs, and informal businesses. So just to say that 1 in 10 jobs in the world is connected directly or indirectly to tourism, from taxi drivers of the airport to street food sellers near the beach. The livelihood of so many is dependent on tourism. So lockdown strategy was or is relatively effective to control the virus spread, of course. Closure of borders also means no travel. So without travel, there is no tourism. And eventually, tourism businesses started to collapse one after the other. Airlines stopped operating, hotels booking were cancelled, taxis had no tourists to transport, souvenirs and artisanal shops were closed, parks were closed, music performers had no shows, beach traders were faced with an empty beach, tourist guides were sent away only without pay, and the list is ongoing. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates that 75 million travel tourism jobs are being at risk globally with the COVID-19 pandemic. I will cite few examples again. It's important to know what is happening in other countries. In Jamaica, where tourism brings more than 50% of foreign currency, 300,000 people lost their job since lockdown because transportation line was directly related to tourism and attractions were closed. In my country, Mauritius, few hotels are closing down. My brother in the housekeeping department at Orua Hotel is not working since March, and I am the one sustaining my family now. Likewise, in Kenya, a community-based tour operator had to lay off 90 employees in less than a month after flight suspension in March. Also, hotel company Elewana is drawing on cash reserves to support 2,000 employees. In Armenia, travel and tour businesses have been badly hit. Guides and drivers are losing their job. So this fast-moving pandemic has not only disrupted the global tourism industry, it has also ravaged livelihood. But from another perspective, positively speaking, COVID-19 has given a kind of breathing space to tourism resources. Destinations which recently suffered from over-tourism are now restored. For example, we have in Venice, the people are reporting that the sea is now blue. They can see fish swimming. In India, the Ganga River is cleaner now. And in Africa, elephants, lions, gorilla of the zoo are having a break from over-visitation. In Mauritius, corals have grown and dolphins are back again playing in our lagoon. So now we come back to the gist of my talk, how to turn setback into comeback for tourism. Of course, whatever I will share is just indicative. It's not conclusive, and it is just based on observations and secondary data. You would all agree with me that COVID-19 is a new phenomenon. As a result, most destination management organizations, they are not really prepared to face lockdown and closure of businesses for such a long time. The world is struggling to develop resources in order to face the pandemic. Even with the largest containment efforts and vigilant responses of countries, we have not really been successful in controlling this pandemic. I think China is the biggest example for now, and the virus is still in general circulation. In my previous webinar with Amity, with NITIM and many other institutions, I used to say that we must talk about survival. We should not talk about revival of the tourism sector. But today, after 6 months, 7 months, I would say, I'm thinking of December because that COVID appeared in December 19. My opinion has completely changed as I see the unpredictable nature of that pandemic. We cannot keep on going and opening and closing. We cannot have lockdown permanently as the lives of so many are dependent. We have to develop our coping capacity. But not to say that we need COVID patients to run the tourism industry or we need to receive corona positive tourists, not at all. But we need to think of a realistic approach driven by humanitarian and health concern. I would say that the basic formula for now for all countries should be first step, medication, precaution, education, and information. So now what next? So first thing first, I believe that it's very important for destinations to follow guidelines from the World Health Organization and the United Nations World Tourism Organization. These are leading international agencies doing the hard work for us. They are collecting data, assessing corona impacts, formulating guidelines, advising on measures to restore the tourism industry. Destinations are called upon to set up a tourism recovery committee. To cite an example, we have Bangladesh, which formed a committee for crisis management of the tourism industry to tackle the outbreak. Malaysia established a Tourism Recovery Action Council. Singapore created a Tourism Recovery Task Committee. So destinations which are still planning to restore their tourism industry may follow those examples. Second, I feel that countries need to adopt fiscal and monetary measures along with job support measures. The WTO is advising on that. We need to facilitate recovery, exemption of taxes, economic assistance and relief to businesses, new loan schemes are necessary. To cite examples, in Norway, the VAT on attraction has been reduced from 12% to 8% till 31st of October. In Germany, VAT rate has been reduced again to support tourism and hospitality. In Belgium, Cameroon, and Turkey, city tourism taxes have been suspended. In Greece, workers whose labor contracts were suspended are receiving compensation, and in countries like Cambodia, they are providing retraining programs for laid-off workers. So these are some of the examples to follow to restore the industry to make it become like a comeback. Now, from a marketing and promotion perspective, it's important to develop new tourism products based on health and safety protocol. Products need to be holistically sustainable, and destinations should think how to add value to their product by marketing a corona-free destination to boost travel confidence. People will not be interested to travel to a country when they know that they will have to spend money and to come back with corona. Nobody is interested in this kind of venture. Promotion and development of new products to attract international and domestic tourists are already in preparation in countries like Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, China, and Europe. As you can see, they are gradually opening up, even China. Third, I think that we have to forget competition for now. We need to embrace collaboration. We need to join hands with stakeholders, partners, and even enemies and rivals, because the objective is revival of the tourism industry and comeback of the tourism industry. We need to focus on fostering alliances with regional and international organizations. We cannot walk alone with COVID-19 around. Re-education of tourists is also required to restore confidence, awareness, and sensitization for responsible tourism. We need certification from international tourism organizations to make products holistically sustainable to maintain consumer confidence. And of course, at the level of the workforce, of the people, the service providers, we need retraining and reskilling. We have to rethink, reinvent, and reorientate and re-educate. And finally, most important, the role of media is crucial. They are to panic the population. Their role is to inform and educate and not to stigmatize or dramatize. I am referring here to the stigmatization of the Muslim and Chinese community. The coronavirus was first Chinese and then later converted to Muslim. So this is an article which I read from a review where I saw that the media did not assume the role responsibly. So COVID-19 pandemic is a radical wake-up call for humanity, and this pandemic has taught us a great lesson. The world is a global village and we are all dependent on each other. It's not time to discuss the region or the religion of COVID-19 pandemic. Rather, it is time to join hands and collectively fight it as one community and one identity. I say that if Disneyland has opened in Hong Kong, if people have started enjoying beaches in my country in Mauritius, France and England have opened up, why not others? So as we say, every cloud comes up with a silver lining. So together we will make it. Together we will make it, and tourism will have to come back. Thank you so much for your attention. I would say Dhanyavad to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vanessa, for sharing such valuable inputs. Like points that you have shared, like impact of pandemic on tourism job opportunities across globe, highlighting the positive aspects as well. You have also focused on the different tourism recovery aspects which needs to be taken care of, and what is the role of World Trade Organization and WHO, and most importantly, I like the word which you have phrased. You have used world is a global village, which is true in itself. So was very, very encouraging, and most importantly, how do organizations plan to promote corona-free destinations so that we can revive the tourist destinations? Now, I have just one question out of it. What about those countries which have limited budget? They are developing countries, and they do not have adequate basic necessities. How will they? What would be their strategy to promote tourism in their places?
So so this is why I have highlighted the point that it's not the time for competition, it's time for collaboration. So I feel that with international organizations, we should be able to help those other countries as well. Probably if you have come across my book, which I have just we have written last year, and it's in circulation already, we talk about post-conflict destinations. And in this book, we are talking a lot about how weak countries, like countries, tourism destination with weaker performance, how they can come up, how they can, like, for example, how do we say, collaborate with other stronger destinations to come up, because here we are having a problem of the pandemic, and the pandemic is just circulating around the world. So alone, in solo, we will not be able to do anything. So tourism with poor resources, I think that international organizations should be able to help them, and probably they can attach themselves with regional organization and, for example, promote tourism as a regional destination, as a regional destination. I take an example. For example, in Mauritius, we had the Vanilla Island package. So because some of the islands, they are not performing well in tourism, so when we are going to sell the package as a vanilla package, so tourists will come to Mauritius, and at the same time, they will also visit those weak destinations, and this gives them a chance to have more tourism business, and we share the revenue for the first time, and then later on people come to know about those destinations and they start marketing whatever they have in terms of tourism resources. It's all about collaboration and support from international organizations.
Thank you so much for your valuable inputs. It was very enlightening views that you had shared. Now I would like to request Professor Vandita to please welcome the next speaker. Thank you.
Respected everyone, we are very honored to introduce Professor Dr. Said Al-Batouty. Dr. Said is the Professor of International Macroeconomics and Tourism Economics at Goethe University in Frankfurt, Germany. He is the Economic Advisor for United Nations World Tourism Organization and the member of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. He is also the member of the board of directors of the European Travel Committee, as well as the German Federation for Tourism. We welcome you, respected sir, to speak on the present situation of the global tourism and what we must do for a quick recovery.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, my dear colleagues and friends, and everybody joining us for our webinar. Without doubt, the travel and tourism industry at the moment is now living its most difficult time and difficult situation since the Second World War. Since it takes international dimension after the Second World War, the travel and tourism industry takes world dimension and worldwide dimension, and also the World Tourism Organization is established directly. It is the first time in the history that there is a worldwide lockdown. Everybody must staying at home under quarantine. About 96% of the population, of the whole population, unlimited to move. All airlines, or most of the airlines, grounded and doesn't move. Airports, most of the airports closed. Hotels, restaurants, cinemas, shopping centers, even churches, mosques and temples, and the worship places is closed. It's the first time in the history, and of course, it is dramatic. What we have to do now, it is now we are inside the problem. We are in the problem, and we have to look for solution. But what gives us now white light in the view that some destinations starting to open, and also treatment for this virus started to be in hand in many locations and many countries. And also we have signs that some medical institutions or some medical authorities are now under the way to produce finally the vaccine for this virus, and expecting this in September. Without existing this vaccine and to vaccinate the people, I think we are not going to come to the normalization or the tourism industry. We have to be realistic, and even the recovery or some destinations in Europe and in some islands starting to reopen tourism now. If we are talking reality and clear, I think the demand or the desire for the people to travel at the moment is very low. And we see this in Europe, in most of the tourist markets. The demand is very low at the moment, and also we are not expecting a real recovery before September, by the beginning to vaccinate the people against this virus. We are expecting, or according to all studies and all contacts what we have now in the World Tourism Organization and the other organizations, I think that the recovery for the world tourism or for the international tourism will be started from the end of September or beginning of October. We are expecting that there will be a big lag between demand and supply at the beginning of recovery, expected to be in the duration from starting from October until end of April or end of May 2021. It might be this lag, it might be more than 50%. That means the demand will be more than 50% than supply. Therefore, the competition, as you said before me, the competition between companies, between tourist destinations will be very hard in this time. What we have to do now, we have to prepare to use the time and to prepare ourselves and to improve the quality of services, to make training for the people and to make maintenance for the tourist establishments. and to live with this time until beginning of recovery. Even some destinations, as I said, in Europe, like Blair's Islands, Palma de Mallorca and Ibiza and the other islands, and also the Canary Island will start also from the 8th of July, Greek islands, but the demand, it is even some, I heard yesterday that some charter flights like Eurowings or Condor or whatever, they canceled some flights because of demand. They don't have enough passengers to fly, and you know the cost is very high at the moment. If I will share with you some slides which I have prepared. At the moment, if you see, as you see in the screen, the world, about 90% of the world destinations, they have travel restrictions. Even they have started now to release the restrictions, but still a high percentage still having full or partial travel restrictions. Africa, for example, 100%, Americas, Asia, approximately 100%. Some destinations in Asia, they have announced it already that they will start from end of September, beginning of October. Europe, as you see, but the percentage of it in Europe now, it is a little bit less. Middle East, approximately also 100%. The losses, this is the most important, that we are, you know, that we have prepared 3 scenarios if the recovery will start from July or from September or from the end of the year. I think to be they are realistic. The scenario number 2 is now we have to talk about, and the international tourism, we are expecting that will be decline according to the latest data by 80%. That means we will lose approximately about 850 millions of tourists during this year. The last year, as you know, it was 1.462 trillion tourists, international tourists. We will lose also approximately $1 trillion US dollars from the tourism revenues, and this is a huge loss. Even the airline industry, they will expect also to lose from the revenues about 340 billion US dollars. GDP, world GDP from travel and tourism industry expected also to lose 2.7 trillion US dollars. Jobs in risk, and what we are doing now to support and to help the destinations and the countries to support the enterprises in order to keep the work and not to send the people homes. Loss of jobs, as you see in Asia, it is the highest is approximately 60%, and this is very high. And then Europe, and then North Africa, Latin America, Middle East, and Caribbean. The scenarios, as we say, if we restart in July, and this is, we can forget, it is some domestic destinations, and also the demand is very low. Therefore, we are talking now about scenario number 2. Even the minus percentage will be higher, because the lack between demand and supply in this time, and also the start also mechanism with flights and with destinations, if they are prepared, and the hotel capacity during this time, which it will take time from starting of having vaccine in market and vaccinating the people. It will take some months. As you see the three scenarios, the scenario in the middle is now we have to follow the scenario of in the middle. That means starting from the end of September, the recovery. Here, that means we will have approximately 440 million of tourists all over this year, 2020. Tourism receipts, of course, it will not exceed during this time. It will be between 400 to 430, 440 maximum billion US dollars. What we have saw during our studies with when the contacts with the destinations during the last time, we saw that across all regions around the world, there have been strong and widespread policy response to impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. Out of we have our studies and analyzing data for 220 countries. Out of them, 167 countries has reported specific measures to mitigate the effects of the crisis and accelerate recovery. Among of them, 144 countries adopted physical and monetary policies. 100 countries adopted policies to support jobs and training. If we talk about governments now and how the response, most of the governments at the moment have been responded quickly and strongly with a level and coverage of measures stepping up over time. Always improving, and always we receive more response. Most of the countries have adopted economy-wide stimulus packages, physical and monetary measures, along with job support measures. Across the region, most measures currently in place aimed at providing physical relief and financial support for small and medium enterprises, small and medium companies, and self-employed workers. Preventing bankruptcy, ensure survival, and address liquidity shortage for these enterprises. And also promote the job retention and secure employment. And this is the most important. If we see across the regions, the percentage of countries which already adopted policies, about 167 countries already reported that they have adopted physical, monetary and monetary policies, job and training policies, and also restarting tourism policies. If we are talking about to the left side, the physical and the monetary policies, you will see by regions, starting from Asia and Pacific to the left, and then Americas, Africa, Europe, and Middle East. The percentage is very high, which they have adopted with physical and monetary policies. About jobs and training policies, you can see also. You will remark that Europe is most high percentage approximately in all three adoptions. And then to the right, restarting tourism policies. In some destinations, still no data available, like Middle East, but in other regions of the world, they have high percentage, 33%, for example, in Europe and Asia and Pacific, about 25% of the destinations have adopted already restarting tourism policies. From our situation now, if we are making SWOT analysis, we will see strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats from this COVID-19 crisis. If we talk about, if still have time, or if we are talking,
please continue.
Okay. If we are talking about challenges and opportunities, the strength is what we have from this crisis is proven silence of resilience of tourism in past crises. We have passed many crises before, like SARS time, like world economic and financial problem, and so on. But the first time, of course, it is very hard and acute, this crisis what we are living now with COVID-19. Strength also is domestic tourism can be a buffer. Adoption capacity, safety, and hygiene protocols, trips closer to home, value for money, responsible consumer behavior. This also strengths. The second is government support to the sector. Now, most of the governments supported the tourism and travel sector. The opportunities, if we are talking about or we talk first about weakness, of course, the segments potentially affected are also high spenders, international long-haul business travel and events. Major disruption in airline industry, with airline failures and concentrations, lack of references in previous downturns, perception of travel as a risk, low level of demand I talked about when restarting tourism due to social distancing. Of course, the restart when the people is not vaccinated, it will be, we will continue with the social distancing until everything to be stable. If we are talking about opportunities, rethink business model, innovation and digitalization, sustainability and sustainable oriental segments like rural, natural, and health segments. De-escalation phases initiated by several countries toward the new normal situation. Progress in adoption plans in destinations and companies. This all, in our point of view, the opportunities which we have in this situation now. We have many threats. It is also for the negative, from the negative points from our present situation with COVID-19 now. What I want to say at the end of my word, that we have to think positive. We have many positive points regarding environment, regarding regarding that we know that nobody in this world can live alone and collaboration and working together and being together is to continue our live in this on this planet. We have to be optimistic that tourism will, or we are sure that demand will be coming again. The demand is existing, but it is only postponed. We have to live during these months until to start the recovery, and tourism will coming again, and we will come to the figures of 2019, inshallah, at the second half of the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing such beautiful points. You have focused on the impact of COVID-19. What are the various international destinations will start from September and October? If it starts, sir, my question is, what would be the major destination points at first in international travel? What would be the countries or places that would start from September and October?
I think we are expecting that the recovery will be faster in some regions like Middle East, in spite of conflicts, of course, in some corners there, but we are expecting in some destinations in the Middle East. We are expecting also in some destinations in southeast of Asia. Also, the recovery will be faster than other destinations. Even in Europe, we have expected that the recovery will be not before the end of this year, beginning of the next year in Europe and Americas. But except, of course, some islands like Greek islands, Balearic Islands, and therefore we must the regions where we are expecting that the tourism recovery will be faster: Middle East, Africa, in some parts or some territories in Africa, and Southeast Asia.
And thank you so much for sharing in detail, like about the revenue status, the global and regional breakup of destinations. You have also focused on what would be the probable responses by government to tackle this situation in tourism, focusing on securing employment opportunities, job and training policies, fiscal and monetary policies. You have also showcased the SWOT analysis, which is really nice. So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable inputs. Now I would like to request Professor Vandita to please welcome the next speaker for this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Respected everyone, we are very privileged to introduce Professor Nuno Almeida. Professor Almeida holds a PhD in business management with specialization in marketing from the University of Coimbra, Portugal. A teacher in the public higher education since 2001, he is currently the coordinator of the master degree in marketing and tourism promotion at ESTM Polytechnic of Leiria. In 2019, he has completed the program Art and Practice of Leadership Development at Harvard Kennedy School, USA. He is integrated member of Center for Tourism Research, Development and Innovation, with its main research focus on new trends in tourism marketing. We welcome you, respected sir, to speak on tourism marketing and COVID-19 communication based on trust.
Hi, thank you so much. Good morning, good evening for everyone. My pleasure to be here with you, and I appreciate so much this opportunity. Thank you for the university, the Amity University. Thank you too for Professor Hassan from the Luxor University from Egypt for this contact. And I will try start my presentation with some slides. So I will share my image. Okay, it's all okay, the image and the sound?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so I will start my presentation talking a little bit about the communication and the importance of this communication based on trust. If we're looking for the European Union, as Professor said, we have a very high impact in the GDP in all the Europe, including not only GDP, including in employment, 12% of employment, 11% of GDP, and 3 million business, and much of this business is a small and medium-sized companies. But of course, we have this situation in the past, because now we have a big challenge, a new challenge, and it's a real new situation for the tourism activity. So the COVID-19 changed the activity in tourism, and we have now a new magic word, as I told, is trust. So if we talk a little bit about this word trust, well, we can look for the dictionary, for example, and of course it's much more easy to understand. But summarizing, trust is to believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you. So that's very important now when you use all your communication, all your marketing strategy for the market, for the customers, for the different destination. So if you're looking for this image, it's a real image where I was traveling in a company, in a commercial company, in March, in the 9th of March, after a great meeting that I had with Professor Hassan in a great symposium. And the next day when I travel, this is the scenario in the flight where I travel. So as you can see, only people with trust, and I have trust with the people that work in tourism. And if you don't have many people with trust, you have this situation. I asked to the people if they sell the tickets to the flight, and they told me, yeah, we sell the tickets, but the people have afraid from the COVID-19. So this is a real picture, and this is a real situation, a real scenario, if the people don't have trust in all the situations. So this is, for me, it's a very important word, but be attention, because trust, it's much more reliable when it's communicated by others. So for example, looking for your university, the Amity, if you tell that you are the #1, of course that is very important, but it's much more important when you have this information in some newspapers like Education Times and other ones talking about the ranking. So that's much more important for the market. The same in tourism. If you're looking for the tourism market and for different destinations, you have the same. If you have some stamps, for example, the World Travel Awards, and if these stamps tell that the winner in 2019, it's Portugal as one of the best destinations in Europe. So it's very important to use this information to communicate, to give this information to the market. So one of the strategies that you can use now with this pandemic situation is using the publicity. That is not the same like advertising, because advertising, it's a different strategy. You need to pay, you need to put the advertising in the media, but with the publicity you can put the information on the market, but it's a non-paid for communication. So it's very interesting, because nowadays some companies don't have much more money for the marketing strategy, so you can use more cheap communication strategy. And in other way, it's very reliable when some newspaper or TV talk about your destiny. For example, if you have a channel like the CNBC in the United States talking about some destination, and including using some information from the OECD, tell something about this country and about some initiatives that are developed around the COVID-19. So it's very strong for the people that looking for some information like this in CNBC. So you can use then this to sell your image. The same, like for example, if you have a country like Portugal, that some of the tourism activity, not all the tourism activity, but some of the tourism activity, it's around the beach. And if you have three of three of these beaches are in the 10 safest beaches in Europe. So it's very important for the market, for the customers, feeling that in this place you are safe, you have enough space, and it's safe. Of course, this is the most important to make your holidays. So if you're looking for this crisis, maybe you can use another word like opportunity in some situation. For example, when the exception is the good news. For example, tomorrow the next Sunday, tomorrow, some countries, for example, here in Europe, Spain will reopen the borders with all the European Union and with other countries in Schengen area. But they have an exception, that is Portugal, because Portugal need wait until 1st July. But looking what will happens in the next 1st July, if you're looking for the maps, you have Europe, and Portugal is a small with only one hand border with Spain, and we have the ocean. So it's a geographic situation very particular. So it's very important, this border. So in the next 1st July, the president of Portugal and the King of Spain will hold a ceremony to reopen this border, and we'll all, as you can imagine, with all the media focus there. Of course, this picture is taken in the past, is like an example, but this will happen the next 1st July. So if you have the people in the country, the higher level decisors like kings and presidents taking these decisions together, this is give much more trust to the tourism, to the customers, to the destination, and it's very important for the market. The same I can tell you a little bit about another example with another country, for example, United Kingdom. There, where Portugal have a very good relations, is the longest continuing alliance in the global history. And of course, if we're looking for these relations, it's very important looking at that United Kingdom will consider the quarantine, but quarantine is a big challenge for tourism. So one of the decisions that the Caesars can develop is an air bridge between some countries. Particularly is if these countries like United Kingdom and these importance in Portugal represent a very higher impact in tourism activity. So it's very important, this bridge, and with this bridge, the tourists don't need stay in quarantine. So that's very important, take solutions like this. And of course, if you have a stamp from other entities like World Travel and Tourism Councils telling something good about your destiny, so you can use it and you can communicate this information with the market, like a strong communication, like to give more trust to the market. If you have the first country to get the safe travel, so communicate it to the market. Let me tell you in a few minutes a case study that for me I appreciate this case study because it's a stamp with the name Clean and Safe. It's used in Portugal, and it's a stamp that in reality it's used to create more confidence to the market. So, this stamp it's given according to the National Health Authority guidelines, and of course it's the objective, the goals is reinforcing the confidence in Portugal and as a tourism destination. It's a free stamp and it's voluntary, but all the companies and industries around the tourism in the country can use it. If you achieve this stamp, you can use it in your communications, including in digital communication. You can put on website, and it will be valid until the next April. With this information, the people that the companies that work this stamp, will give some training around the clean and safe strategy to keep the best practice around the COVID-19 safety rules. So I will try to show you a small example with this. So when you put this information in a site, you can find in the site of Clean and Safe. If you want to visit, for example, in this country, Portugal, for example, if you want to visit Lisbon, you just put the name of the city, and when you search what you can find in Lisbon, you will find the many places where you have this stamp, safe and clean. And of course, with this stamp, you will find some companies with this stamp. I will click just an example, this Sweet Lisbon, for example, just as an example. And you will find here the information about you can get directions on the Google Maps. You can achieve many informations about this company, following the information around the COVID-19, some more things that the company developed around COVID-19, for example, internal rules. And of course, this is very important for the market. The establishment ensures, for example, something that the company will ensure, the establishment ensures with clearing, in preference to dry or vacuum cleaning. So many examples that you have here. And then in the hand, you can appreciate, you can give your opinion, and for example, click in the option that you appreciate, the green, the yellow, or the red option. And with this option, you can then introduce your message and give to the company and for the tourism authorities to take the information. So I will finish just with a very small video to give a better idea about this clean and safe stamp.
Is it presentation is over, sir?
Sorry?
No, he's going to share a video. He's going to share a video.
Are you sharing a video, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, choose the share audio with share audio. So audio will be coming.
Okay. Just 10 seconds to finish.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so I will finish in a few minutes. So, of course, this is in strategy, but if you're looking for the news today and yesterday, for example, and yesterday and today, for example, Saturday, in the BBC News, we have some information about this new and dangerous situation phases. And so, of course, all days we have more information, and all days we need to adapt to this new situation. So if you thinking a little bit about what next, so that's the big question. But I believe that the next will be based on communication and based on trust. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir, for focusing on trust, which is extremely crucial in today's pandemic situation. And you have rightly pointed out certain important and significant points. You talked about role of trust in tourism recovery, which is extremely crucial. You talked about publicity, which is very, very important. Now, my question is, what you feel will be the role of digital platform communication in building trust? because publicity may not be in your hands most of the time. So how will this digital platform help in creating trust?
Okay, well, we can consider two different kinds of communication. The first one is the advertising, the typical advertising with the push strategy or pull strategy. But I will prefer focus on the publicity, this kind of communication that you don't need to pay, but some newspapers and TVs can develop with your destiny. So it is very important. But in the same way as you talk, the digital communication is very important nowadays, much more nowadays, because all the world are in digital connections. So you must take attention for this kind of communication, digital communication, of course.
Thank you. And you also focused on a case study where you highlighted different examples very well. And the video which you shared was very, very interactive and learning. So thank you very much, sir, for taking a precious time out. We'll take all the questions from the attendees at the end. So now I'd like to request Professor Vandita to please introduce Dr. Refaat, the next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Respected everyone, we are very delighted to introduce Dr. Hassan Refaat. Dr. Refaat is a senior lecturer at Faculty of Tourism and Hotels, Luxor University, Egypt, a former tourism and heritage consultant at United Nations Development Programme. He has 20 years of experience in professional and academic tourism sectors. He has successfully contributed to enhancing community-based sustainable tourism in several local communities in Egypt. He is the managing editor of the International Journal of Tourism and Hospitality and a member at the review board of Athens Journal of Tourism. We welcome you, respected sir, to speak on tourism and COVID-19, the key to success. Dr. Refaat, are you there?
I think Dr. Refaat is not here because I have tried to send a message. It says he's not in the meeting. So probably you have to contact him personally.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, for the time being, I would like to inform you that we have a few questions for you and the other speakers as well. So while we try to contact Dr. Refaat, I will just pose the first question to you, ma'am. So the first question is, this is from one of our students, Saloni. She is asking,
Dr. Refaat is now online with us.
Ah, okay, he's online.
Oh, right.
Hassan is online.
There was a technical mistake, technical error. Thank you for the invitation. I'd like to thank each and everybody in Amity University. I'd like to thank the professors, distinguished professors, Dr. Said, Professor Said, Professor Vanessa, Professor Nuno, for accepting the invitation. Okay, as long as we are talking about COVID-19, so my presentation today will be, I'm gonna just present a brief presentation. My topic, which I'm gonna present today, is tourism post-COVID-19, key to success. And actually, I'm gonna shed the light on the, is it visible right now?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Let's make it like this. Okay. And the main objective of this presentation is to shed the light on the issue that we can do actually to help to improve the situation and turn the crisis into real opportunity for the tourism sector. We have to admit that we are passing through unprecedented situation. We haven't passed through this situation before. Suddenly we found that all the countries, they are taking some precaution measures and they started to suspend all the international flights because tourism was believed to be one of the reasons that may spread out the infection. So what happened that if there is no international flight, so there is no tourism. So the total, I mean, the tourism sector was totally paralyzed. We found out, sorry. We found out, I want just to shift, okay, that there is a great impact on the tourism sector in terms of tourist numbers, in terms of revenue, in terms of the mobility of the tourists themselves, in terms of the jobs that is created by tourism, either directly or indirectly. But this has made actually the region that depend on tourism as the first category or as the main source of income to say, let's go to normal, let's take or let's do some procedures, or let's take some procedures to open borders, to to enhance the demand of the customers on our destination, to offer some incentive, to facilitate the visa, to to offer some attractive packages. But in my point of view, going back to normal, this means that we didn't learn anything from this crisis. We have to take into consideration two main issues: that the customer behavior will be totally different before and after the crisis, and the tourism priorities will be also totally different before and after the crisis. So we have to adapt ourselves to the new situation, because if we didn't manage to adapt ourselves to the new situation, we will die. Any business will die. So we have to adapt ourselves to, let's say, sorry, am I visible to now? Sorry.
Yes, sir, you are visible, sir. Can you, sir, share, stop sharing, and can you share the once again, sir, slide?
Okay.
You can just stop sharing and you can share once again, sir.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible, sir. Just do one thing: stop sharing and share it once again, sir.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay.
And share it once again, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
So we have to adapt, as I have mentioned, ourselves to the new situation. This means that, in my point of view, we can consider this crisis as a break, as a time for self-evaluation, to evaluate ourselves, to evaluate our strategies that we have adopted before the coronavirus phase. Was it effective? Was it sufficient? Was it, a good tool to enhance sustainable tourism? Or on the contrary, it was a destructive tool? So I think that we have to organize our home from inside before inviting the people to visit us from outside. And this will give us a great opportunity. So when this coronavirus is over, we can get the maximum use of the tourism sector. So we have to ask ourselves, did we manage to go through the right track? I mean, did we manage to drive the tourism sector through the right track? And what are the issues that actually restrain the sustainable development of tourism? In order to deal with this issue, because this is good opportunity to list the issues that hinder the tourism sector, the sustainable development of the tourism sector, to deal with this issue as long as there is no business. So you have to handle your home from inside first. So one of the main issues that we have to deal with is mass tourism, because actually most of the tourism destination, they just care for the numbers. They don't care about the quality or the experience of the customers, because they believe that with the numbers they can get maximum, or they can get higher revenue and a higher economic impact of tourism. And they totally forget that the negative impact on the local economy, on the local, let's say, the local community, on the resources itself, on the experience of the customer. And this situation will never work out with the coronavirus, because the customer will never compromise his safety and security. Being involved in what's called mass tourism tour, this means that he is not going to be able to keep social distancing. It will be very difficult. So this is a good step to get back on track again, to maximize the benefit, or to activate, let's say, to activate one of the objectives of sustainable tourism, which is to minimize the negative impact of tourism on the local community, on the resources, and on the visitors themselves. So it is an opportunity to think about. We have to determine, for example, the carrying capacity of our archaeological, of our attraction sites, of our natural sites, and so on. I have mentioned that social distancing is one of the tools that has to be set as a priority. According to the World Health Organization, it is a priority. This small video, this short video, will show us how important is social distancing, and why we have to take it as a priority. Is it working?
Yes, sir, but sound is not coming. You have to choose the share with sound.
Okay. Anyway, this is as a virus that hit somebody, and because there is no social distancing, the whole members was affected. With social distancing, there is a great possibility to decrease the level of infected persons. So social distancing is not only just required at the archaeological sites or at the guided tour or at the natural and cultural attraction. It will be required at any of the subsectors of tourism. Restaurant, for example, this is a typical traditional restaurants where there are a lot of customers just waiting for their meal and the other are sitting at their table, and this will never work out with the coronavirus. Why? Because there is no social distancing. There is a great possibility to get infected because actually, as you can see, no social distancing at all. So what we're gonna do, or what the tourism businesses, this is a typical restaurant, picture for a restaurant, and in order to provide the customer with, let's say, with social distancing, they decided to eliminate 50% of the seats. And look it easy. It is an easy measure, but it is not an easy measure because actually each seat in the restaurant will be accounted for a certain percentage of the revenue of the restaurant. So eliminating 50% of the seats of the restaurant, this is not an easy measure. But we have to think about alternative, about some innovative ideas. How can we keep the social distancing and at the same time don't compromise the profit margin of the business in order to make the business survive? This is one of the ideas. If you have, let's say a space, you have to maximize your space. So you can make up for the eliminated seats inside your restaurant by having, outside space where there is sun rays, good ventilation, where the customer can keep the social distancing. This is one tool. The other tool is, this is called Sonic Restaurant. This is a famous restaurant in USA where you can just drive with your family by car and don't enter the restaurant. You just order your meal and just wait for the server to come to provide you with the meal without any interaction with the employees. So we are trying to minimize the interaction between the customer, between the tourist and the service providers in order to reassure them. We have to tell them that we have taken all the measures to for your safety and security because of the trust that has been mentioned by Dr. Nuno. Marketing is one of the issues that we have to deal with, because when it comes to marketing, you will find that most of the marketing strategy
has been just focused on the well-known attractions. So when it comes to Egypt, you will find the pyramids. When it comes to India, you will find Taj Mahal. When it comes to Greece, you will find Acropolis, and so on. And this means that we have limited our exhibited product in a small number of tourism products. And this is will never work with coronavirus. Why? Why? Because actually the customer will expect that these well-known attraction will attract the maximum number of customers. So where he's not going to be able to keep the social distancing, it's the same, you know. So we have to diversify our exhibited product. This, beside that, some researchers has found that there is a significant search volume for phrases like off the beaten path, alternative destination, hidden gem, and undiscovered paradise. This means what? This means that the customer will be less interested to visit the well-known attraction because of the reason which I have mentioned. And he's going to search for a new experience, new destination, less known destination, less known attraction. So it is a step towards sustainability again. You have to have, you know, to diversify your exhibited product, to diversify the experience that the customer can get through your visit, through visiting your destination, and to benefit other communities, other local communities in your destination, not just to pressure the well-known attraction and to, you know, you just overloaded the well-known attraction with number of customers, a number of tourists, and this, as I have mentioned, will never work with the coronavirus. Hygiene and safety is the third one, and as Dr. Nuno have mentioned, we need to build trust. And building trust, the first step towards building trust is to guarantee the hygiene and safety of the customer. The customer will never compromise his hygiene and safety. We are talking about deadly pandemic, you know. So the first thing, if you just search the internet, you will find a lot of our let's say archaeological sites, natural sites. You know, these sites are contaminated, rubbish are everywhere, where you can find like what we can call it a decent and nice bathroom with soup in the dispensers, with napkins. So why the customer will visit a destination like this where he can be exposed to the dangers to be infected? So I think this will never work, regardless how famous is the archaeological site or the attraction or the natural site. This will never work with the coronavirus. So we have to take the measure in order to guarantee the safety and security of the customer. You have to address the customer now by he's interested now, he's searching for the most, yes, the most beautiful and the most famous and blah blah blah, but come into a first priority is his hygiene, his safety, you know, his family. You know, these are two pictures for a restaurant, for two kitchens. The upper one is clean and tidy, and the lower one is clean and tidy. But the lower one has taken some extra measures in order to guarantee the safety of the customers. You know, face masks, and you know, with gloves, with you know, covering their hands. You know, none of them has made something wrong. But when it comes to comparison, if I ask you which kitchen are you going to choose if you decided to invite your family to take dinner or to have dinner, most of you, I think 100% of you will choose the lower one, the bottom photo, because they addressing the need of the customer. You know, the standards, the normal standards that we have adopted before, and it was accepted at that time, it is not accepted anymore now in the era of the coronavirus. Also, very simple and basic issue. You know, the customer expect that those people who are, let's say, serving him,
they are taking all the precaution in order to prevent the infection to be spread out. So very simple issue is washing hand. How to guarantee that the employees are washing their hand, they are clean, and they are taking into consideration all the hygiene issues. This cartoon shows the future of washing hand. Let's say something like this. You know, this gentleman is going out from the bathroom. He didn't wash his hands, so the alarm is gone off, and with a sign which says that he didn't wash hands. And all the people who are taking dinner or lunch, whatever, they are looking at him. You know, it's very, very simple issue, but we didn't do it in a proper way. Let's say that according to a scientific research, 30% do not wash their hand, and 50% of those people who wash their hand do not make it in a proper way. So we are talking about approximately 60% or 70% of people do not wash their hand in a proper way. And this is a basic step towards, you know, building trust with the customer. I have the employees that, you know, they have taken care of everything. They have taken care, they set the hygiene level as a priority. Using technology, this is the fourth one. We've been calling for using technology in the tourism sector for a long time ago. But now it is not an optional anymore. It is a mandatory, actually. Gone those days where you have to just wait in a line in order to take or to make a reservation for your ticket in order to get inside the attraction. Because of different reasons, because, you know, sitting in a line or, you know, like this, or waiting in a line like this means that there is a great possibility to get infected. Look, we have to agree that any shared places will be subject, you know, will not, what we can say, will not be a favorite, will not be it will be associated with something like hesitation from the customer. So, you know, in something like this, we have to activate technology. We have, you know, yes, you can get your ticket without being just standing in a line with different people, just with a ticket. Just you can use it. You can make the reservation through the internet with a simple click on your apps. And instead of the paper ticket, which can be a tool to to infection transmit, you will get a barcode, and through barcode, you just show the guy at the entrance this barcode, and everything will be done in a proper way without interaction, big interaction between the customer and the people, the service providers. Also, when it comes to restaurant, gone those days where you just drive to the restaurant and just waiting at the waiting room until a table to become free. Because, you know, also because of the social distancing, also because of the restaurant business, they don't want to compromise their fame. They want to show that to the customers that they have taken all the measures that can guarantee the safety and security of the customers. Also, when it comes, for example, to the traditional menu, in my point of view, the traditional menu will disappear. You know, just to wait to the waiter, just to hand you down the menu that has been handed down to thousands of customers during the last month. This will be not appropriate in the era of coronavirus. So I think that, you know, we have to substitute it with technology, with application, where you just can click the meal you want, and then you will be served the meal you have, the meal that you have chosen. Or if in worst cases, if you don't have the application, just a small board, just to hang a small board in the wall, and each meal has a number, just to refer to the number of the meals that you would like without interacting with anybody, without catching or touching the menus that has been handed down to different customers. This will make the customer feel or to reassure that this business is taking care of the safety and security of their safety and security. Also cash, I think also cash will disappear. The customer will never actually also compromise his safety by holding some cash which is being handed down by customers, by a great number of customers. So, you know, to pay your meal, your service by application, this will be the trend. It is exist, but it is not to such extent. We use it, but on a smaller scale. Domestic tourism is the last one, and domestic tourism has been a priority. You know, in each tourism ministry, there is a department for domestic tourism, but when it comes to reality, the international tourism has been given the priority, because the international tourism means more foreign currencies, more people that will benefit the economy, and so on. So now we have realized the importance of domestic tourism. Now we have realized that domestic tourism is the only solution for the current situation that we are passing through. Yes, the international tourism will come back, but it will never come back very fast. Like it's gonna take time. So encouraging domestic tourism is the only solution. And actually, domestic tourism in general tourism.
Good evening, everyone. I think Dr. Refaat has some internet technical issues. So the session that was addressing was very interactive. We'll just wait for him. So before he could join us, Professor Vandita, can we continue with the Q&A section, question and answer section from the audience? So
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Dr. Refaat joins, we'll again continue with that session.
My question is for Dr. Vanessa. Ma'am, am I audible to you?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, the question is from one of our students. She's asking that tourism as a sector has a majority of female workforce worldwide, almost 54%. And most women are in low-skilled or informal work. Right now, they are being the highest susceptible group to the economic shock, which has been brought about by COVID-19. So, ma'am, from your end, what would be certain measures that you would suggest to deal with the same?
Okay, so it's all about women empowerment. So from the point of view of my position at the African Union Economic and Economic and Cultural and Social Council, so we are giving lots of, and we are putting lots of emphasis on women empowerment. And I think that at this point in time, it's a critical point in time. It's very important when I talked about reskilling. So when we are talking about reskilling, it's also about the women. I think women, they have got that Midas touch, that just like we say that when you touch something, it becomes gold. Women have got that touch, which sometimes, you know, might be very, very, very effective, especially in the hospitality industry. Because when we talk about the hospitality industry, it's about receiving people, it's being hospitable, it's about the smile, it's about being receptive, it's about being patient, it's about, you know, taking care of the clients. So I think that woman has a very important role in the tourism and hospitality sector. And just like I mentioned during my presentation, I think that that training, retraining, re-education is really very important, and it's going to apply to the women community as well. And in many countries, as you might be aware, that we give lots of we put lots of emphasis, we give lots of consideration to women. And I'm sure that, just like I'm saying, it's all about education. And also, when I was listening to the presentation of the others, it would seem that when we are talking about trying to come out of the crisis, it's also important to think in terms of diversification. Women are creative in nature. And I'm sure that if you are talking about a specific business and you see that the business is not working out, women will come out. They will find a way and get some alternative to survive. And I'm sure that based on this flair that women is having, that woman factor, we talk about the lady factor, the woman factor. I'm sure that with the help of women, we will be able to come out of the crisis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
We have, I think, Professor Dr. Refaat has again joined us. So,
Right.
Dr. Refaat, please
I think
continue with your presentation, please.
I don't know where I have stopped actually.
Yes, you were focusing on the importance of, you're talking about domestic tourism, then you went on to use of technology, then you used how to avoid high population density locations, using of numbers in meals, so that people can have less interaction with each other. Please go to this last one, you'll be able to know. The slide which you had this menu with numbers, so you were focusing on that the order can be booked through numbers instead of menus. Then you focused on, yes, next one.
This one?
Yes, then you focused on less cash. Please, next one. This one you had covered already. Please, next slide, next slide. This one you have covered. Yes, this one you have done.
So domestic tourism could be one of the issues that we have to focus on, because the current situation has shown us to which extent that the domestic tourism is very important. Yes, the international tourism will come back, but it will never come back as because of the financial resources that has been hit. So I think that the customer will prefer to stay at home, to stay at his or her country, to tour his or her country, because the financial resources are not enough to go abroad and to make a reservation for international flight and so on. But in all cases, actually, domestic tourism is very essential. At least it will solve some of the problems of international tourism. International tourism is a seasonal activity. So in order to transfer your destination from a seasonal destination into a year-round destination, you have to design and customize some packages to the domestic tourism, to domestic tourists, in order to make it active the whole year. This was the last presentation. The conclusion that there are great opportunities which we can make full use of the coronavirus crisis, and turning it into a stepping stone to enhance tourism in a more sustainable way through identifying the problem and the challenges facing the tourism during the pandemic phase. The measures that will be taken to confront actually coronavirus can contribute to the sustainability of the tourism sector. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Refaat. Your views on consumer behavior, the impact and the changes that have been taking place or will take place is really enlightening. You also focused on tourist priorities. You also focused on social distancing. The most interesting was I personally like that the cartoon visual of not washing hands and the bell ringing in. That was really entertaining, interesting one. You also, in an informative way, you shared so much of significance of technology. You also focused on what strategies could be made for safety, security, and hygiene factors. It's really, really interesting session. And thank you so much, sir. And in fact, we have a plethora of questions for all the speakers, since all the sessions were so enlightening and so full of valuable inputs. So now I'd like to request, without much wasting our time, to request Professor Vandita to please coordinate the question and answer section from here on. Thank you so much.
Hassan sir, can you stop the sharing, please?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes.
The next question here is for Dr. Said. So one of our attendees, she's asking that, sir, will there be a long-term labor shortage in travel since millions of individuals who were working in travel sector were laid off and they might not come back due to concern about the volatility in future?
Well, I think, as I say, we have to think to be optimism that starting from October, the tourism recovery will coming, and all the tourist enterprises and establishments like hotels and accommodation facilities will starting to work again. And as soon as the vaccine is existing, I think everything will coming to the normalization, and also the demand for travel and the scare of travel which the people having now. If we look why the demand is very low, the people, they don't want to travel with mask all the time and to wait in the airport 4 or 5 hours, and then in the destinations they have to test them and they have to wait for a long time, and the social distancing in the hotels, and many recreational and entertainment facilities is not allowed to be working and existing on the beach, using the swimming pools. All of this, of course, it is disturbing the demand, and also making majority of the tourist consumers to think again to travel or not, and the majority, they don't want to travel in this situation. Beside also the economic problems which is existing in many societies. We have to think optimism that tourism will come again. Tourism, because the demand is existing. It's only delayed, and we have to live with it until October, November. From October, November, I think everything will coming. We are expecting the leisure tourism will be faster in recovery than other tourism segments like cultural city and business tourism. If we talk about India, talking about cultural tourism in general, in any institutions, in any tour operators, in any market, we have to talk about India. India, it is a center of cultural tourism and heritage. Therefore, we have to be optimistic that this pandemic crisis will be end soon. There are some good remarks here in Germany and in some other medical institutions that the vaccine, it is approximately now in the final stages, and it will coming soon, and as soon as it will be existing, I think everything will coming to the normalization, including tourism, and which they lose jobs, they will come again, and I think we have to look optimistic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. There is a question for all the panelists over here. Someone is asking that will the governments across the world reduce dependence on travel, or will they continue to put quantity over quality as measure of tourism success?
Is this a question also from me? Huh? Is this for me?
Yes, sir. This is actually for all the panelists present. So, sir, you can answer this.
Okay, well, I think the future of tourism in the coming 2 years will be a little bit different than the last year. The mass tourism and the era of mass tourism and this tourism all-inclusive pattern and all of this, I think it will be not coming in the next time, and the competition will be in the quality of service, because the consumers they will be different than before. They will be caring about everything. They will be looking for all the details, not like before. And what we see is positive, that that we think that for the coming time, this all-inclusive formula and all of this programs will be a little bit slowing down, and this is very positive, because we are looking for tourism. If the hosting society will be not benefited from tourism, it will be useless. We can see that, and this all-inclusive, everything is including the sightseeing, food, beverages, and all of this. If it is included, what the drinks and everything, what is the local society will benefit? We are supporting tourism in order to that the locals and the local communities to benefit from tourism. Therefore, and I think that the competition in the quality, not in the quantity, will be more for the coming time, either between destinations or between the tour operators, or between the accommodation facilities, and so on.
Okay, probably I can add some
Sure.
points to what Prof just said, from my point of view, of course. And I would think that, you know, all countries do not have the same priority. Tourism is important, but from some surveys, from some research that I have done recently, not all countries would be interested to invest too much in tourism. I will take the example of Maldives. I will take the example of Seychelles. These places are very very popular tourism destination, and the economy is absolutely dependent on that, and they continue to work on that because they have those resources. But what about a country like Congo? A country like Congo, where we have got people, they are still developing, it's a still developing nation. Congo has other priorities: food security, for example, safety and security issues, and infrastructure problems. So in this case, I would think that as per the question that has been posed to us, I would think that it depends. We cannot decide for all the other governments. The problem is here, it's a global one, but I think each government will see what is the priority. If I am in Congo, I will see, I'm the Prime Minister, I would see what is more important for my people for now. Probably tourism might be a second option. I will try to first secure, for example, in terms of food, in terms of other more important things, health, and other things. But if I am in Maldives, I'm the Prime Minister of Maldives, I know that everything is well set, so I will try to just get back my tourists, and I'll find other ways. Just like Hassan has said, I'll try to develop my domestic tourism. I'll try to do other things. So it depends on the priorities, and also on the on the limitations, on the challenges that they are facing, and all on the tourism resources as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your inputs. Our next question is for Dr. Nuno Almeida. Sir, this question is, as trust becomes a new currency in the travel and tourism sector, will user-generated content like that of TripAdvisor reviews gain more importance in the post-COVID-19 era?
Thank you so much for this question. It's a very interesting question because it's this is the real expression. It's a new coin, a new currency. It's a interest can be used in the next future to promote some dancing, some place, some service and some products. Of course, if we look for some websites where you can change some ideas, will be much more important nowadays. If these ideas, it's not only about the the great image the great picture that you have in your window in your hotel with a nice view, but it will be much more important now with how much safe, how much clean, how much COVID-19 rules, safety rules it's applying this destination in this hotel. So it's a new coin, this a new currency in this word that is trust. So it's a very interesting question. I believe that will change the importance of this topic, these subjects.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, there is another question for you. Will COVID-19 crisis give rise to any new types of tourist market segments based upon their perceived fear of travel, health status, etc.?
Great question. If we're looking for the trends all over the world, we have a very interesting market nowadays. There is the older tourists, the people with much more age, but they have now, sometimes they have time and they have money to travel. But nowadays they have another situation. They have takes in some situation much more care with the healthcare situation. So probably some of these markets, the olders will look for some place with the safety conditions, like a great place to stay in holidays, to stay in a trip, to stay in a tour. So probably maybe it's not a new market, but it's a different market, because in the past you have the same market, but now if you put more attention in the safety, in the clean, in the COVID-19 security, so probably you will attract more these kind of customers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next question is for Dr. Hassan Refaat. The question is, how will the face of community-based tourism change in the post-COVID-19 era?
How can community-based tourism change in the post-COVID-19 era?
Yes.
Actually, community-based tourism is one of the tourism styles that we wanted to promote, because actually, if you just look at a country like Egypt, the benefit of the local community is very minimum when it compared to the benefit of the international hotels, the international companies. So there is no comparison at all. So most of the people feel that most of the local community feel that tourism doesn't contribute to their living, doesn't make them to make a living, for example. So we wanted to promote such kind of tourism in order to achieve one of the objectives of sustainable tourism development, which is how to involve the local community in the tourism development, how to make them have the ability to get some revenue from tourism. But if you wanted to market sustainable, what we can call it, local community-based tourism, you have to make sure and to reassure the customer that each and every activity that he is going to get involved in is secure. All the people have, let's say, a certificate that they are not infected. They are not going to transmit any infectious diseases, because local community sustainable tourism. This means that the customer, the tourist, will communicate with the local community. There is a certain kind of communication. For example, he's going to see the crafters, how the local handmade products is being made. He's going to eat in the local restaurants. He's going to be accompanied by a local tour guide, and so on. So there is a certain kind of interaction. So how to reassure the customer that each and every process in the sustainable tourism, sustainable based community tourism is checked and proved to be safe, and the hygiene is okay, and all the people who are participating in this tourism style have taken all the measure in order to get, or in order to let's say, to keep your safety and security. We need to promote it, but how we will actually offer it to the customer, how we can convince the customer this is the best tourism style for you. Can you understand me, right?
Thank you so much, sir. There is another question for you. The question is, will the economically badly affected destinations seek to monetize access to some of their premier cultural attractions through privatization, especially from an Egyptian context, or from the perspective of other countries?
Privatization of could you just
Cultural
repeat it, because the internet
Yes,
is bad here.
The question is, we have the destinations who have been affected really badly when it comes to the economic part of it. So will they seek to monetize access to some of their cultural attractions by privatization?
Privatization is one of the solutions, actually. If the local communities, I mean the local administration doesn't have the financial resources that enable them to moderate or to market such a kind of resources, so privatization is only one of the available solution. You can, we have a model like BBT or something, public-private partnerships. I forgot, the abbreviation. So
BOT.
it is actually, we were discussing not from long time ago, just to hand down, to make one of the private sectors, one of the private company to be responsible for the pyramid area and to run the pyramid area, because we feel that the kind of services which are being offered in the pyramid area is low the expectations of the customers. So just give them to a private sector, make them, give them all the authority to enhance the situation of the archaeological sites or the attractions, and then after a certain period of time, you can get back your attraction again, according to a contract between you and private sector. So it is one of the possible solution. We can actually activate it.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next question is for Dr. Nuno Almeida once again. So the question is, will the travel influencers have any influence left post COVID-19?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, sir. The question is, will the travel influencers have any influence left post COVID-19?
In reality, now the influencers have much more importance for all the markets, because if you talk with your friends, if you talk with your family, if you talk with your peers in your jobs, your voice will be much more strong and strongest that sometimes the advertising from the companies. So these influencers can put very pressure in the opinion of others, the other travels, and of course it will be very important nowadays. So you need to take very attention to these influencers including with the use of new technologies to consider what kind of words is using, for example, in different digital communications platforms, and of course identify in a better way where is the influencers, where is the trends, where is the new trends. So really important.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, we have a lot many other questions, but we shall take the last question for the day. Our last question is for Dr. Vanessa. Ma'am, there is a question, post COVID-19, how should organizations and governments look forward to implement gender equality strategies in order to support women's empowerment in tourism?
Thank you for this question. I see that all the women empowerment question is coming to me. Yes, indeed. I think that this is not an issue at all these days, because we are in the 21st century now, and I am confident that after the so many years of experience that I've had at the level of the African Union, I can say that many countries are promoting, most of the countries of the world, they promote women a lot. And I think that even in many countries, I have seen that at the level of the government, when they are trying to give possibility to stand as candidate, there is a percentage that is reserved for women. I presume that it will be the same in India, in many other countries. So from this point of view, I think that in all the fields, women are there. And I think that the government of the world, all the governments that I've known so far, they are doing a very good job. And I will not venture to say that women are being deprived from this post or that post. They are given opportunities, I can say. And this is a priority. And we have got so many international organizations who are also having an eye on that. And especially, just like I said earlier, that the woman factor makes a difference in wherever you are. The woman factor makes a difference. And I'm sure that even when we are fighting today against that COVID thing, we need the help of women. So men and women together, we work together and we try to see how we can find solution. We're not going to say that this is the woman, maybe the woman is a bit weaker, but no, it's not like that anymore. We are all equal and we work together and we make the world better together. I hope that I have answered the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So as the clock has ticked on and we have moved towards the closure of the session, I would now request Professor Siddharth Nanda to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, the esteemed speakers. You have taken your time out, shared your most valuable inputs, focused on different trust, recovery strategies, and shared so much of valuable knowledge with all of us. On behalf of Amity Institute of Travel and Tourism and Amity University, Kolkata, I thank you all and hope to continue and have more events and association with you in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All the best for India.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you.